Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment for Everton 1, Crystal Palace 1. We're looking back on a very disappointing and disheartening draw against Crystal Palace, which has seen our European hopes take a bit of a blow. I'm joined by Terry, and I'm also joined by Lee McClean from A View from the Bullens podcast. Warm welcome, Lee. Great to have you on. How are you doing?
Pleasure. Nice to be on. I'm doing very well, lads. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Glad you're doing well in spite of what Everton put us through on Monday anyway. That's brilliant today.
Well, I'm not really. I'm just about getting over it now, but it was a tough one to take, wasn't it?
It was a tough one for all of us, mate. Don't you worry. Where'd you start on that? It's a really, really disappointing result, isn't it? We'll come to you first, Lee. What do you make of our performance there?
For me, James, it's the performance wasn't great. We spoke about it on the podcast on Monday. It wasn't the worst performance of the season, but the difference was, I thought on Monday, is we created chances for the first time in a while. So if you look back at Everton this season, I think we've struggled, especially at home, to carve out many clear-cut chances against some really poor or average sides at best. So at least, I suppose the one positive you could take from that the performance. There's no positives with the result. The performance, I suppose, was we cut through them. I think James Rodriguez had a lot to do with that, his inclusion, the fact that he was back fit. That's going to be massively important between now and the end of the season in those 9 games, keeping him fit, because without him, we don't look nearly as dangerous as we did on Monday, and that wasn't a great performance, but we created chances. So if we keep doing that, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin won't do that again. I think you can safely say that's just an off night, because the pair of them they've got the quality. I think Calvert-Lewin needs to work a little bit on those one-on-one finishes where he's got a little bit of time to think. But the pair of them, I think, if you were to give them 2 or 3 clear-cut chances in any game, they're not going to do what they did on Monday. I think they'll put a couple away, and that's what we've just got to hope they do on Monday, coming up against Brighton.
Yeah. Terry, with that in mind, what actually went wrong for Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin in this game? Because, between them, they must have spent about a dozen chances.
They just both had one of those games on the same game. Simple as that. If one of them's having a night where his shooting boots aren't on properly, then you need the other one to turn up, and the two of them had the same issue. And early in the game, the earlier chances, it was said on Twitter that if Dom's chance fell to Richarlison, he'd have scored, and if Richarlison's chance to score fallen to Dom, he'd have scored. I don't even think now, with the full game in mind, that would have even been true, because the two of them, all right, the Palace keeper, Guetta, as they say, Guetta, he did have a good game, but sometimes we made it very easy for him. We hit it right at him in some instances. The one time where Richarlison got a shot away and put it to the side, it was like a pea roller, and he managed to turn it around the post. And just the whole team in attacking areas, other than James, who scored the hardest chance we had of the night, because that's just how good he is. Other than James, everyone in the attacking spaces were just having a mare. Like Andre Gomez. Can we just go straight to that, please? When he picks up the ball, he's got the whole of the, one half of the pitch to run into.
He passes it to an offside Richarlison.
Passes it to a blatantly offside Richarlison, when all he had to do was carry it up the length of the pitch and then pull it back to Richarlison, who would have got behind him, and for an easy goal. And he goes, "Oh, the ball's a bomb," and just gives away. I don't even know. I thought when I watched that, if I was a neutral, or if I was watching another game and a neutral player did that, I'd be thinking that player is absolutely terrible. I'd be laughing. I'd be like, is he messing what he's just done there? And I thought that other supporters who were watching that game Monday night must have thought, what is wrong with him? And to be honest, Richarlison might have missed an open goal with the night he was having. He was just, I don't know. It's harder to take. I think the reason everyone took that so badly is it's partly because the results had mostly gone our way up until that point. West Ham hadn't played yet, obviously, and we squandered another opportunity But I think the other half is it's more frustrating when, if you draw or you lose and you're not in the game and you play poorly, it's easier to accept than when you make loads of chances and you're on top for most of the game and you still draw because the one chance they had, they scored from. They did to us what we've done to teams at different times this season, and it just kicks you right in the guts. It's terrible.
Yeah, it really does. It's a tough one to take, I think. The strikers have a lot to answer for, obviously, with their profligacy in this game. But with that in mind, does Josh King deserve a chance? When is he going to get a chance? Is he ever going to get a chance?
No, I don't think he is good. No, I don't think he's going to, because if he was, he'd have had it by now. I can't even say he should, because I don't know. He's clearly not doing it in training. He's come in as a cover option. He's clearly not Ancelotti's man. And I think Carlo may have taken the view in that game that, well, they're getting the chances, it'll go in eventually, which obviously that didn't work out that way. But I think might as well write off Josh King now. I don't think he's going to play unless we come to a point where the games are meaningless. I don't think he's going to play.
It's just painful. I think it's just obviously at this moment in time, seeing our two main strikers missing chances left, right, and centre is just incredibly frustrating. Knowing that I really thought we had to win that game to sort of be in with a chance of Europe. I feel like we've blown it, to be honest. I know there's a lot of.
I wouldn't go as far as that. The season's. Sorry, go on.
Go on. I was saying there's still a lot of football to be played, but it's football that I'm not sure we're capable of playing at the moment. That's the concern.
It's not over yet. It's we are getting towards the business end now, and it's not a case of, oh, that's it now, we can't get Europe. But it's we need to start taking these opportunities when they come up. How often are Chelsea going to lose to a West Brom? Now, the Champions League was a long shot anyway, but it's completely gone now. Champions League went with the Palace game, but Europe certainly not, because Spurs dropped points. We can still get in there amongst the other teams. I still think Europa League or the Europa Conference League or whatever it's called, I think they're still on the table. The Champions League's gone, but we didn't do ourselves any favours. We had a home game against Crystal Palace, who didn't really play that well of a game other than the goalkeeper, and we didn't take all 3 points. It's massive waste.
It's not a result you can accept when you're pushing for Europe, and considering that we've already putting these kind of performances, if not worse, against other teams lower down the table. It's just so infuriating that this is going to cost us.
Well, that's the thing. You can accept it. If it's a one-off, you can sort of think, right, okay, you put it down to a bad night or whatever. But you look at our home records as a whole, as a collective. Fulham, Newcastle, West Ham, Leeds, Burnley. It's shocking. You're looking at one home win in 8. Now, before the Southampton game, you're going back to that Chelsea and Arsenal couple of games before Christmas when the 2,000 fans were allowed back in the stadium. It's an appalling home record. And for the players we've got, when you compare them to all of those sides, you'd be looking hopefully at least 3 or 4 wins out of those run of fixtures. And I think if Monday just gone wasn't last chance saloon for Europe, I think this Monday coming up, you could argue definitely is, I would say, because there's only so many times that we're going to lose games or draw games and everyone else around us is going to do us a favour. There's going to come a time where one of these teams is going to pull away and all of a sudden it's too late and we're going to sit back, and it's going to be a case of what if with this season, which is mad to think when you think where we were early on.
Yeah, well, I think the thing early on, we won a few games at home, but it's actually worth remembering now, apart from the opening 2 and then December, we've actually only won 5 home games in the league this season, which is just not good enough. Mm-hmm. Fans or no fans.
Well, with that record, Jay, we can't really, with a straight face, any of us Evertonians turn around and say we deserve top 4. Not with a home record like that. You just look stupid. I think the only reason we're still in with a shout of top 7 or whatever it's going to take to finish in the Europa League position, just because of other teams' failings as well. So the league's being that inconsistent all year. obviously with the home record of most of the top sides has been a little bit topsy-turvy, taking Man City out of the equation. Obviously no fans have played a factor, but that's the same for everyone. So you just like to think between now and the end of May, we're going to stumble across some sort of system or formula that works, because there's too much for me chopping and changing every week. We need to find some sort of a settled side and just trust it and go with it, so that the players have that little bit of synergy and chemistry on the pitch. Because you talk to like some of the pros, and I think that's important. It's lacking. Yeah, there's no cohesion. It's all, we can't wait to get rid of the ball. It's like you said before, it's like a hot potato, isn't it? In possession, probably you'd say James aside, we look really, really weak.
That's how I think that explains a lot of why we're better away than at home, is because we're better without the ball than we are with.
I would say so. Yeah, I think we're a team that struggles when another team sits back and asks us questions. So if you set out a flat back four in the midfield, more often than not, Everton finds it very, very difficult or impossible to break that down, because we haven't got the pace and we haven't got the guile or the ingenuity in midfield, in possession. I think the reason you saw a little bit more success with creating chances on Monday was because Coleman had one of his better games, and we had a bit of width, and we got in behind him a little bit better, and then James, of course, in the middle pulling the strings. But we've not been able to call on that consistently this year. And outside of them players, you're really struggling.
I think they were the only two decent performances of everybody, to be honest with you. I think James was the standout, and that kind of quality just makes the difference, doesn't it? That's the only reason we've got anything out of that game, was because of him.
Yeah, 100%. Without that, you've lost that game.
Which
and how we thought that, I've got no idea how we found the gap there. You look at someone's paused it. The moment he struck that ball, and it didn't look like there was anything to aim at, but it just shows you the quality of that man. And the sooner we can all get back in Goodison Park and watch him, the better, because it just seems criminal, doesn't it, that we've had him nearly 12 months now. We've not been able to watch him in the flesh, because he was injured for both the games that we could go and see. Typical, isn't it?
Terrible, but it's Everton.
Yeah, that's it.
But I think a few other things to touch on. What did you make of Robin Olsen's performance? Terry, what about you? What did you make of Olsen in goal?
6 out of 10. Didn't do anything right, didn't do anything wrong. Just I think the gloss has been knocked off Olsen a little bit now. When he first came in, because Pickford had been so erratic for months beforehand. Olsen coming out and just catching balls and stuff like that made him look great. But now I think it's a little bit I don't think anyone would be really bothered if we didn't sign him. We went and looked for someone else. Not because he's bad, but it's not this, great goalkeeper, I think, or an upgrade on Pickford is crucially that I think we need. He's not. For me, at one point, he would have been nailed on starting just to get Pickford out of the team. But now that things have settled down, I think Pickford starts when both fit, and that means that we need a better goalkeeper, because I still don't think Pickford's good enough. But Olsen didn't really do anything wrong or right. He wasn't really at fault for the goal, and that was the only flashpoint of his entire game.
Yeah, it's one of those. I don't think he did too much wrong, didn't have to do much right either. But the fact of the matter is, he's conceded one goal and it's cost us the 3 points. It's a shame. It's just disappointing, because I think it's worse still that we took the lead and threw it away with not long left of the game. It's criminal, really, what we've done.
It always feels worse, James, doesn't it, when you score first? And I think I've got no idea. I'm still racking my brains now, three days later, why we sat back with 20 minutes to go. We're not good enough to do that for a start. We haven't got the players to contain any Premier League side for 25 minutes. And if you look at Crystal Palace, they've got players that can hit you. Okay, they're not great, and they're sort of languishing in mid-table. But you look at Eze, Zaha, Ayew, Batshuayi, who came on. They're all decent Premier League players who, given a chance, will hurt you. So it was a strange decision, I think, to sit back and not keep going. because we weren't playing great, but we were creating chances, and you'd like to think we'd have got a couple more and maybe put that game to bed 2-0.
Yeah.
But to sit back, it was coming. You could just see it. You could just see it coming, especially when Batshuayi came on. And it was just a little bit of the inevitable at the end of the day. And yeah, like you say, we Everton that one.
Really?
I'll disagree with you there. I think we can contain teams, but we certainly can't with no Decore, no Allen. When we a back five, which is a bit topsy-turvy. I can't believe, I thought it was nailed on when Godfrey was coming on. We didn't go for the 4 centre-backs across the back with Godfrey left and Holgate right, and have Coleman and Dean ahead of both of them. Just proper shut the game down. We stayed with, we had a back five with Coleman as the left, Holgate as the left of the back three, and Godfrey at right wing back, which didn't suit him. And I love Carlo to death, and I say this all the time, people have, because of Arsenal Fan TV, have confused criticising the manager with wanting him to be sacked. His subs were bizarre.
Got it horribly wrong. He got it horribly wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, on his first day in professional football, when that day finished, Carlo Ancelotti had forgotten more than I'll ever know about football, but I just don't get those substitutions. It didn't make sense to me to take Coleman off. It certainly didn't make sense to me to keep that shape when we were going defensive. The back four of centre-backs, which worked in December, and just Dean ahead, and even if you didn't have Coleman ahead, just the back foot, that setup was familiar and would have worked, I felt, but he just stuck with the weird sort of back five, which still I don't think works.
I don't rate that formation at all. Even when we were doing better earlier on in the game, I still disagree with that formation. I understand personnel stretch, but I just don't like that formation, and I think it hinders us attacking.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, just because I don't think our players can do it well, and the results have brought me out. We got one win with a back three, back five, whatever, which was away at Fulham.
And the derby as well.
Just about got that. But you see, that wasn't really a back five, was it? That was a 4 with Coleman ahead of Holgate, which was doing a specific job on Andy Robertson. He was still, he turned up in the 6-yard box for an header. He wasn't the right wing back. He was the right midfielder who was out of the man marking job. So to actually set up as a 3 at the back, Coleman, or I keep doing that, Holgate always is the left centre-back because he's the one who comes out with the ball, which he is good at. But the rest of the defenders don't really know how to do it. Keane had his worst game I've seen him play for a while in that, back 3. And Godfrey, as a right wing back, had his worst game I've seen from him for ages. It just didn't work for the personnel involved. Could have been a lot easier to just set up with the 4 centre-backs across the back 4.
There's so many things I think should have been done differently. Another thing was, of course, Jean-Philippe Gabin made his first appearance in there 2 years. Was it right to bring him on in that kind of situation? Do you think that was the right decision?
No.
I don't.
No, Terry, I don't. I think in the moment you 1-0 up and you're thinking, great, it's lovely to see the lad back. After almost 2 years out, it's a great news story, and by all accounts, his attitude brilliant, and he's never give up, and his physios have said nothing but good things. And thinking, right, okay, brilliant to see him back. But then we go and concede an equaliser, and in hindsight, you look back and go, that's not the best decision either from Ancelotti on Monday. I think it's a massive, pivotal 20 minutes of football that we needed to see out and improve on. And to bring someone back with no football in his legs for nearly 2 years is a strange one for me, especially when you've got other options on the bench. We mentioned Josh King before. He's just not getting a look in. Even the young lad in Kunku, he's not really getting he doesn't seem to be trusting him anymore. And he was, I don't know about what you two think, but I thought he was really impressive in the first stages of the season. I thought he looked really good. So yeah, a strange one. I think it's great to have him back, and hopefully he can stay fit and help us between now and the end of the season. But for Monday, I think that was a bit of a mistake.
No, I thought if we'd have got a second goal, it would have definitely been the right decision. But we were hanging on for a win, and I personally feel like he was hung out to dry a little bit, to be honest.
He doesn't look fit
clear that he wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. His legs look really heavy still. He's still very, very rusty.
Yeah, I don't think it's very fair to have brought him on with the game so finely balanced. A game where you've, like James said, where you've won already practically, you've got 2 or 3 goals. It doesn't happen often, but we could, may have got that if James had stayed on the pitch. Give him that comfortable thing to get just a feel of the grass under his boots again. But he had no impact on us losing the lead, and he had no impact on us chasing the winner at the end. So he just sort of came on and did what he was always going to do, and it's great to see him. And he's a physical beast by looking at him. If he can stay fit, fingers crossed, we've got a completely brand new player effectively there that we haven't had before. But what was he meant to do in that scenario? He's got to be used gently, hasn't he? Just so he can get some match fitness back up. He's probably only on for 20 minutes, but I bet he was sore when he got in bed that night because he hadn't played for that long.
Yeah. I played golf for the first time last week and I was sore, so God knows how he's feeling after Premier League football. Yeah, strange one.
So with that in mind, what does Ancelotti need to do differently going into the Brighton game? Obviously, such an important game now. Next Monday, what does he do differently?
I don't think it's Ancelotti to change. His subs weren't great, but I don't think the reason we didn't win was Ancelotti. I think he needs to sit down with the 2 strikers and say, don't take the piss this time. Like, the 2 of them had 3 big chances at least each to score. Could have had 6 goals, could have been 4-0 up after 20 minutes. I don't think that's a case of Ancelotti's cost us that match. I just think he contributed some strange decisions towards a poor result. But I think it's down to the individual players to sort their heads out, because if they want to get in Europe, they need to, start performing like they want to. The manager is the solution. The manager is not the problem.
No, not at all. I personally think maybe he could change the system. I wouldn't like to see another 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whichever it is. I think that needs to be reverted back to the 4 at the back, whichever formation is in front of that, whatever that may be. But I think 4 at the back is a lot more suitable for us, and I think we need to go back to that. Other than that, I don't think, like you say, anything else is really on Ancelotti. But I always say every game between now and the end of the season is a question mark over how much these players want Europe, and they failed on a number of occasions in quick succession now. Like, that needs to change.
Yeah, it does. I think it'd be interesting. I think Alan, if he's fit, he's surely got to come back in. So there's a change that is forced upon him a little bit. And I'd also like to, I didn't really understand or agree with Godfrey being removed. He's been our most consistent, impressive player, arguably, all season. So, but in terms of the 5 at the back, I'm sort of caught in 2 minds, because when we do play Coleman and Digne wide as sort of wing backs, I think Everton always look better with width, because we haven't got pace and we haven't got guile in the middle apart from James. So I think when we lack width as well, we just look like a toothless animal, and we could play for hours and hours on end without creating a chance or scoring a goal. So I think we're not going to have another night like Monday, touch wood, in terms of finishing. If we can create the same amount and standard of chances as we did on Monday, I fancy us to put Brighton to bed quite comfortably, if I'm honest.
I'd like to think so, yeah. I mean, whatever it is, we just need to get back on track and quickly. Obviously, bad results on Monday, but it was bad results beforehand against Burnley and Chelsea before that. That's 3 bad results on the trot. We've got to put that right. It's a big question mark over the players, and the players need to answer it.
They do, because I think the questions are starting to be asked now in terms of, is Ancelotti getting the best out of this squad? And we all love him. And so you're quite right. It's not fair to jump on Evertonians' back who dare to question a decision, because he's a human being at the end of the day. But if you compare him with maybe other sides around us and look at the squads that they've got and how they're performing, I think the key barometer for me, lads, is we are unable to beat the crap of the division. And I think the key for any successful side is you've got to, first and foremost, you've got to beat the rubbish. And then your games against your top sides and your better teams, if you can pick the odd result up against them, then great, like we have this year against Tottenham, Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea at home. We have, but what we failed to do is pick up any consistent results against the teams that we're expected to beat. And unless we start doing that, we're never going to achieve anything. We're going to be treading water in 8th, 9th, 10th position. And with the money that's been spent, and with a manager of the caliber of Ancelotti at the helm, it points to everything that you've just said, James. It's the players not good enough.
It's definitely the players. It's about, for me, I don't think it's a question of necessarily. It's not like we can't be like, oh, they don't give a damn, because they obviously do, and like the fans were there willing them on. I think they will give more, but that's the problem, is that without the fans there, I don't think our players have the professional standards that other teams' players do. I don't feel like there's a professional drive there to succeed, even in the absence of the supporters that would normally will these players on.
It's a fair enough point.
A lot more, these players are quite lazy and not committed to being successful in their careers. And I just think that they can get away with hiding a lot more easily because the fans aren't there. I think there's many a player in that team that could be,
I brought this up on our podcast. I asked Kevin Ratcliffe the question on Monday. I don't think losing games hurts enough of our players. If you look back at the side he played in and the best Everton side there's ever been, they've gone on record. They hated getting beat. They took it personally. And it's on the pitch. It's all well and good when you're coming out moaning after the end of the game and doing these rallying calls and stuff. We've all heard too many of them. It's doing it on the pitch and leaving everything out there on the grass, putting hard yards in. I don't think they want it enough.
No.
It's sort of, they walk off the pitch and it's like, oh well, we've dropped more points. I don't see the hate or the passion enough. And I don't think they would have got away with it as much with Goodison, because you know how demanding Evertonians are and what Goodison Park can be like when things aren't going well. So I think they've had a bit of an easy ride.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. I think we can't understate how important we are as fans, and it'll be great to get us back in the ground, because I think that'll certainly put an end to the poor home form anyway. As in terms of where that'll take us, this season it will have taken us a lot further, but I'm not too sure where it's going to end up now for us. To be honest, it's very much hanging in the balance where we could end up finishing now, and I am quite nervous between now and the end of the season as to where we could end up finishing. To be honest, I think I went on record on the live stream after the game. If you haven't seen that, guys, tune in for that. I said that we're 8th now, and I don't think we'll finish any higher than 8th.
I would. I don't know. We're capable of it. We should do. I think.
Yeah, we're capable of
it. The team's good enough to finish on paper, but football's not played on paper. We're better than West Ham on paper. I won't be told otherwise. What West Ham are doing is they're making the best out of what they've got, and they're on a good run, and the confidence is high. Everton have never put a sustained run together other than the first 4 games of the season. We just haven't done it. So unless we change things quick, keeping James Rodriguez fit and Alan, and maybe getting Corey back for the last 4 games, that's our season. I think if them players drop out, I think you're right, mate. I think they'll be 8th, 9th.
Yeah,
that's how pivotal they are.
It's tough, but I just think that's the case. I think we've got a top 6 quality first 11, but we've got a bottom 4 quality second string. I think there's teams lower down in the league than us, a lot lower down, who've got better reserves than we've got. I think that's where the issue lies. I think their reserves are more reliable, and we're talking about teams like in relegation battles here, the sides right down there in the mire who've got better players to call on from their bench than we've got on ours. And it's a damning indictment of how much rebuilding work's been needed with the squad, but that is where we're at, and I think there's still a lot of rebuilding to be done, and I want Europe because it could help us rebuild a little bit quicker, and that could get that ball rolling. But it's imperative that we get there, and that's what I fear at the moment is that we might not get there.
Doesn't bear thinking about.
It really doesn't, in terms of what the sort of mantra was for Carlo Ancelotti when he came in. He's always said all season, as you've said very often on this show, haven't you, Terry, that the ambition is Europe in whatever form that may be. If we miss out, as Lee says, it doesn't bear thinking about.
Still 9 games to go. We never remember after the international break when Marco Silva came back and put a run together. If he can put a run together, I think Carlo can.
That is true. I mean,
the way you've got to look at it. Might not happen, but you've got to think there's always the opportunity. There's always the chance that you can flip things and go on a run of games. And that's what we need to do, because we're playing West Ham, we're playing Villa twice, we're playing Spurs, we're playing Arsenal, we're playing all these teams in this scrum of clubs. And if we can come out of that having beaten most of them, then we're flying. But if we come out of that and we haven't done well, then we're miles off. There's some
big 6-pointers coming up.
No hiding place. It's not like we're playing loads of clubs who are the top clubs, and we're going to lose, and they'll all play all the fodder and they'll win. It's there to be got.
Even though we're not in the top 6 or 7, it's still in our hands in some capacity, because we can still go and beat a team and maybe leapfrog them. But there's still a lot of questions to be asked of this team, and we need to see how they serve up the answers for that.
I think the positive to look at that, lads, is that we've tended to do better in those type of games where there's literally something riding on it and it's a big game. You think of Leeds away, the Anfield derby, these type of games. I think it's when we're expected to win, Everton just tend to turn up and think, oh, well, we're Everton, we'll win. And it doesn't work like that. So the games you've mentioned there, West Ham, all the teams around us, Villa, they're all crucial. And Everton tend to perform a little bit better in those type of games. So you've just got to hope, haven't you, that continues. And like you say, all's not lost. It seems like it's on a knife edge now. It's going to go either way very quickly.
It really is. It's like every game's going to count. And I think obviously the Brighton game's up next. That's a big one. We've got to win that game, I think.
Yeah, to set us up for those games. Yeah.
Yeah, get some positive momentum going before we head into that game. But that'll be crucial. I think we've got to win that now.
Capable of doing it, though. We're building it up as if we're playing Real Madrid away. That wasn't a dig, by the way. I didn't even mean to do that, but that's what we're building it up like. And come on, we're playing Brighton away, and I think, come on, let's sack off having this fear mentality. We're going into the game with a Brazil's number 1 choice striker, Richarlison. We've got James. We've got quality players all over the pitch. France's left back. Go and apply yourselves properly and go and beat them. Don't worry about the opposition as much. Go and win the game. We're capable of doing it. And I think it's just a week. We've got a full week on the training ground now to sort of G ourselves up. I like what Calvert-Lewin did after the game's come out. He's not tried to hide. He said, "Listen, I've had enough tonight, and that's on me." So you'd like to think he's got the bit between his teeth. So it wouldn't surprise me if both him and Richarlison got on the score sheet on Monday. I'm actually very strangely confident ahead of Monday after what happened this week.
Well, I'm glad you are.
I am. It's weird. And I wasn't for Monday at all, but I am for this week.
Interesting. Very interesting take. But let's try and keep that optimism going then, shall we? We'll finish up there anyway with this one. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 1. Like Lee says, let's try and take a bit of confidence from wherever we can find it, and maybe try and keep ourselves optimistic for that game, and we'll be looking ahead to in the coming days. But until then, guys, thank you for watching on the Toffee Blue. Subscribe for more content. Like, and of course, comment on this video. Let us know your opinions. And also check out Lee's podcast, The View from the Bullens. Brilliant podcast. Check that out as well. Until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you later.